In this episode of the Documentary Review Podcast, Jonathan and I put our lions into a cage for an hour as we discuss the 2010 documentary, The Elephant in the Living Room. Welcome to the podcast. I am PT.
And I'm Jonathan. Glad you can join us as always.
Yeah, my wife, by the way, my wife voted against the intro of we put our lions in the cage for an hour. She felt that was a little could be taken sexually or something.
Oh, wow. Well, only really out of context. I mean, obviously, if you've seen the documentary, it's spot on.
Right. It's like, man, what? I thought we were talking about lions. Were they? I was just talking about the junk. So welcome to the show. If you haven't joined us before, we are a documentary podcast. We take one documentary each week and kind of delve deep into what it's all about and any issues that are around it. And basically, it's your college days when you'd watch a movie and then you'd go sit around with your friends and BS about the movie for an hour. We're like that to you. You probably don't have time for that stuff anymore, so we want to be that for you, bring you back into that experience. How's it going, Jonathan? Can you hear me? Are you there? Jonathan is
It's gonna here. I think I'm got a little lag going on tonight, but if you can, yeah. So that'll make things a little more interesting. But yeah, no, I'm here. I'm doing good. And why don't I give a little overview of the old documentary we watched this week?
Yeah. Before you do, can I just set the stage for our audio listeners that you look very relaxed tonight, more relaxed than usual. You're lounging in a bed type setting, and I'm liking it. I'm liking it.
I just, instead of in the office and all uptight, I just thought I'd go with a nice relaxed feel this evening. So here I am, just chilling in my bed. Casual style. So casual, I feel like I could own a deadly animal and still be relaxed.
Nice. All right, what's this bad boy about?
So, Elephant in the Living Room basically tackles the issue of whether or not people in America should own exotic pets, more specifically, deadly exotic pets. They kind of follow around two different stories, which during the course of the documentary become very intertwined, of Tim, who is someone who works in basically capturing and resolving issues that relate to deadly animals as they escape or things go awry, and Terry, who owns some lion cubs, and obviously lion cubs eventually become big old lions, and the issues and problems and the love that he has for the animals are all kind of covered in this documentary.
Nice. Well done. Well done. So what are you gonna give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down overall?
I'm a little torn on this one. I think I'm gonna have to go with a thumbs down on An Elephant in the Living Room.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a thumbs up, I think. Before we get into the movie itself, if you would like to watch this movie, you cannot watch it on Netflix anymore. We were procrastinators and waited till the last day before the podcast. And fate taught us a lesson because it expired the second to last day before the podcast from Netflix.
Right.
So if only we'd been a tiny bit more prepared, we could have watched it for free.
Right. Instead, this is now officially the most expensive documentary review we have ever done.
I know. Geez, between the two of us, we're talking $6.
$6. You can believe that.
Better be able to be a tax write-off. Here's like a nutshell. What I really enjoyed and respected about this documentary was that I think it stands in stark contrast to many of the other talking head documentaries where I felt like they did a good job telling a story, and they did it without, like, it clearly didn't have as big of a budget as a lot of the other documentaries we've seen, but it showed that even with a smaller budget, you could tell an effective story that's emotionally touching and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, I kind of it lost, or well, it got, like I said, it got the slight thumbs down for me because one, it did just have such a slow pace to it for a lot of the documentary, where I felt they could have filled it with arguments to either side, like she was Into the Abyss, which was also a very low budget documentary, which I loved. Kind of kept, even though it never that documentary never picked sides. This one, it did certainly have a tone that it was against, people having these pets. Not a very strong one, but even without like, forcing an issue or forcing a side, Into the Abyss kind of teaches us that you can keep a neutral profile as a filmmaker and still really, draw you in. And there was never a moment where I was like, oh my gosh, this thing's really dragging on. But there were a couple of moments like that in Elephant in the Living Room, and then it, and they could have made it a lot better just by throwing in some ideas, not necessarily like they could have interviewed a couple of the, a lot more people for sure, be it like people from some of the exotic pet shows, other pet owners. They could have interviewed any of the people that had like incidents occur. I would love to have seen some of that, like these people that, did have pets that got out and injured or killed someone, and then interview people around those stories to say, hey, and see what their take was. If it was still like, yeah, I'm glad I had that pet, even though it, killed my neighbor, or, maybe that was a bad move on my part.
Right. I assume those people are probably hard to interview. Like someone calls you up and is like, I would like to interview you about the time that your pet wolf killed your
no way.
Your child.
This is America, and some of those happen in trailer parks. So as soon as you're like, hey, do you want to be on TV? They would be like, absolutely. But I don't even care. You don't even say another word. What do you want me to do?
Good point. Yeah, I guess I definitely I can see where you're coming from, and I think your points are valid. I never really felt like it dragged, and I liked that it stayed focused. But I can see your perspective on that. I'm not gonna argue with you on that one.
All right.
There were, I guess if there's something I would like to see, I would like to see a little bit more of maybe like I don't know, a little more like from lawmakers maybe, or something about like what the issues are around this. And like, because one of the big things is like, there's in a lot of areas there's no laws against having an exotic crazy pet, and it's basically easier to have a dog than, or it's harder to get a dog than to get an exotic pet. From the standpoint that you have to get a license, is still harder, I'm sure, to acquire the exotic pet.
That certainly blew my mind. Yeah, because that was one of the lines from it was from an official after the guy's lions got out. He's like, well, he wasn't breaking any laws. He said, in fact, you need a license for a dog in our county, but you don't need a license for a lion. You just go get a lion. I was like, wow, that's messed up.
Yeah. There's some crazy stats definitely that they threw in, and I thought they did a pretty good job with like the way they flashed the stats occasionally in between the little scenes.
They did, and they did use some really interesting ones. They wrote, one of them was like that was the one that got me. It said there are more tigers in Texas than in the wild in India. Like more people have pets as tigers.
Right.
It's like, my God, I had no idea. I would have thought there would only be 3 or 4 people out there that have tigers or whatever for pets. But apparently, a hell of a lot of them.
Yeah, they said there's 15,000 people who have big cats, or at least 15,000 big cats that are privately owned in the U.S. I assume some of those are like private zoos or whatever, but still, that's a lot of big cats.
Right.
So I guess like for me, the big, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just super lazy, but like my whole thing is, I don't want anything that's going to be a big hassle. And like, I mean, I guess that's not true, but in order for me to get something that's got to be a big hassle, man, I got to get a lot of, the enjoyment's got to outweigh the hassle aspect. You know what I mean? Like I got to have a car and get an oil change, but yet it's very convenient to have a car to be able to drive to work. So I put up with that hassle. However, having a lion is a super big hassle that I just don't see where it would be like fun or
right, especially when like there's such similar but hassle-free or much less hassle alternatives, like a dog or a cat.
Right.
Like, yeah, if you like lions, you're probably a cat person, and you can probably have like a cat. There's tons of different like breeds of cats out there that you don't have to build a giant cage for. And I have no idea how much you have to feed a lion, but I'm guessing a lot. And the hassle factor has got to be insane for pets like that. I mean, like, are you really getting more out of it than having a cat or a dog or whatever? I mean, maybe a teeny bit, but certainly, yeah, that.
Yeah, yeah, like they showed that Terry guy was definitely really into his lions, but man, I've definitely seen people who are into their dogs equally as much and
Totally.
have gotten a dog. Um, and they did not deal with at all in this documentary cleaning up lion poop, which I assume is not
They
cool.
did just for like 1 second because when that one lion was tranquilized, he started like cleaning up the cage a little bit, but
All right, right,
yeah, but and they never dealt with the food issue because that dude definitely did not look like he was doing so great
right,
financially.
right,
And I was like, how are you coming up with a couple $1,000 a month? I assume to feed lions. They don't eat cheap food; they eat meat.
right.
There's, I mean, having a vegetarian lion is called starving your lion. That doesn't work.
Right.
Um, yeah, I don't know, and yeah, the other
It's
ones at least like the other stupid pets like big snakes and like alligators and things like that. I can totally see where when you're at like some dude and you go to the reptile expo and you're like, wow, that'd be totally cool to have like a caiman. Here's my $50, $200, whatever they cost, and then 4 months down the road you're like, wow, this thing's getting pretty big, and it just sits there. That was a stupid move on my part. But
right,
then you've got it. Now you're screwed. So
right, right. All right, let's talk about Tim a little bit because first of all, I think I wasn't paying good enough attention like right at the beginning, but like what's Tim's like he was a police officer or something, right? Like is he does he do
yeah,
this full time or is this just a part-time like volunteer gig, this rescuing animals thing?
yeah. So he has like because his job was really unique because they called him like a service professional or something, and I thought like, oh, maybe he's like a volunteer policeman or whatever.
Right.
But he's not. He was like a a combination of a policeman, a firefighter, and a EMT. Um, so he had like all the credentials to be all those things, and since it was a smaller community, I assume they somehow got the people to pay him a little more and do all those things. But anyway, but then it seemed like his animal rescue thing was more on the side, like that wasn't
Right.
part of his. But they did call him in all the time, so
Right.
for to do that.
Yeah, that dude I gotta say that dude just seems like a good human being. Like, like he's working hard, man, for taking care of stuff. I don't know. I felt like, man, I should be at least like trying to do some good for humanity because he's like at least really out there try to do some good for humanity. Whether he is or not, I don't know, but he's definitely seems to be working hard, trying to trying to help.
Yeah, totally.
So
Yeah, and then that was actually one of the kind of I thought cooler scenes was when I mean there's the whole adage of everybody's the good guy, a good guy in their own from their own
right,
perspective or whatever. But when he has that one scene when he's sitting out in the woods, he's like, yeah, I'm trying to catch this mountain lion or whatever that's walking around these people's woods, but if I catch it, it's just, they're going to put it down. Nobody's going to take this mountain lion, and mountain lion didn't do anything wrong. It's just being a mountain lion, and am I really doing anything good? Should I just like walk away and leave this mountain lion in the woods? And
right.
he totally is questioning his, and he's been doing it for 20 years, so that's got to be a tough thing to start to question. But yeah, I don't know. And yeah, when he was talking about it, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's a mountain lion in the woods. I mean, I live in Colorado. There's mountain lions all over the woods, but it
Right.
seems to be not a big problem. I mean, we don't have a lot of mountain lion attacks or anything. I don't know. We got hikers all over the place. We got mountain lions all over the place.
Right.
Seem to do okay together.
I saw one review of this documentary that said, after you watch this documentary, you couldn't be blamed for thinking that the state of Ohio is just one giant wild animal, crazy preserve thing. So, man, it did seem like there was a lot of wild animal problems in Ohio. Maybe
Yeah,
it's that way everywhere. We just don't see it or whatever. But
yeah,
there's
yeah.
a lot,
Maybe
a
it
lot of
was.
issues going on.
Yeah, and yeah. Why do we feel the need to do that? I was kind of thinking about that during the movie too, because I mean, a lot of people really fight for the rights to own whatever crazy animal thing they want to own, and I mean, like generally, I'm all for, you know, people, should have the right to do basically whatever they want, and I mean, in the same sense that I think people should be allowed to skydive, you should probably be able to allowed to own whatever pet you want, except for the big problem of those things get out sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes the neighbor's getting killed, and I get it. Where if like my neighbor owned a bunch of lions, I mean I got 2 little kids, I'd be like, hell no, there's not you are not owning lions and living next to me. I would have some pretty big issues with that.
Yeah, no, there was that one scene where Terry, the guy who owned the lions, he was like talking about because his lions got out at one point, and he was talking about worst case scenario would be like they've got someone cornered in their car, and then like I would just come and have to kill the lion or whatever. I was thinking, man, there's not the worst case scenario at all. The worst case scenario is they freaking kill 3 people or whatever.
Right? Yeah, lion goes into daycare facility. That's the worst case scenario, and
that is a bad scenario.
Right, that's much worse than shooting a lion.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so the documentary, kind of mentioned, follows Terry's the other guy. He owns a couple lions, and he's got some medical issues. Definitely, I don't know. Do you think he had like some mental? I don't want to diagnose him or anything, but
no, no. I mean, like I'd put him in the category of normal. I mean, he's on a lot of medications and stuff, I think, but he's not exactly the brightest bulb or anything, but he's okay, I think.
Right. So throughout the documentary, then he his lions escape, and then he's kind of got to decide what to do with them, and then they kind of have to deal with the whole issue of like, what do you do with a lion, even if you decide it's not a good idea to keep it in my house anymore? What do you do with a lion?
Yeah, and then you know what? This documentary really kind of has the poster child, which is Terry, of you really shouldn't have pets like this. Because, I mean, that guy really loved his pets or whatever he did. He really, truly loved his lions. But then, he's just some dude that's tried to build a pen for lions. And, he built an okay pen. But they're lions, so they got out. And then there was like, he loves his lions, so he doesn't want to like, get rid of them. So he puts them in a horse trailer for 5 months. That sounds horrible. That's like a horrible thing to do to an animal. And, it's not like you can like take them out on a leash every once in a while. They just stayed in a horse trailer for 5 months. And then, eventually, like, spoiler alert, one of the lions dies because like the fuse box to his friggin' barn was just wide open. I mean, like, could have killed anyone, including a lion. But it turns out he electrocuted his lions on accident during a rain. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah, you should not have lions, dude. There's like so many safety hazards there for you and the animals and other people.
Right. Yeah, bottom line, don't have lions.
Or venomous snakes. That seems like the other really, really dumb one. Because even if you like a snake, you can have a snake. Just don't have venomous kind. That seems really like a no-brainer.
Yeah. There's some of those snake stories they told were the most like horrifying to me. Of like,
they're totally
there's swallowing the 2-year-old child, and then the mom had to like stab it 14 times or whatever. That's pretty messed up.
Yeah, so that's pretty messed up.
The snake's swallowing my child, I would be disturbed by that. I would not like.
And then there's the Tim guy that's like, super responsible animal do-gooder or whatever. I don't know, whatever you want to call him. His friend, who was a firefighter, right? I think had a venomous snake that bit him, and he died. And I was like, oh, that guy was probably a really responsible snake owner. But wild animals are really unpredictable, and you got to feed them and be near them from time to time if you want to properly take care of them. So just get one where if it bites you, you're like, ow. There's a lot of those out there. Stick with that kind. Not the kind that bite you and you're like, oh, now I'm dead. Oh.
That sucks.
Yeah.
The other interesting little side thing in this documentary, which would be a cool documentary of its own, it was when they went to some of the different exotic animal shows and stuff like that, and they were having to use like hidden camera to film. That was pretty interesting, especially the one that was like in Amish country where it was like,
yeah, they were like
everything.
Yeah, everything. Chimpanzees, whatever, mountain lions and bobcats, and it's all kinds of stuff. Wow.
Yeah. The one guy's, I like the one guy's quote when he came out of there. Man, the only way I've been more shocked is if they were selling human babies in there.
Yeah, it's That did seem. I mean, like honestly, like I would just like I would go and to that auction just to see it. I mean,
Right.
like even seeing it in the documentary, it was almost like one of those things where I was like, "Is this really real? Does this exist out there?" I mean, like I'd like to think they're not trying to like pull a fast one on me, but it's supposed to be a documentary, but
Right.
just it doesn't seem like you could fill a room full of people that would want to be in that place. And it looked like it was pretty packed.
Yeah, yeah, that was the thing that left me questioning myself the most when I was like, man, apparently I'm missing something that just makes me really want to have like I barely want to have a dog, you know what I mean? It's like
Right.
I'm borderline about that, but like there's nothing in me that wants to. It's like, man, I need something crazier than that.
Yeah, I you know what I've had some crazy pets over the years, no lions or anything like that, but
Right.
we did have a snake, but it was a little snake and we didn't get it like I asked the question when getting it, how big will this get?
Right.
And when I said one that was non-venomous and the answer was, you know, 2 feet, possibly 3 feet tops, and a 3 foot snake, like I think it sounds even bigger than it is, but I mean, like most of the time they're just like a curled up little ball, and it's a very slim kind of a snake thing or whatever, and it was a mostly docile thing, and certainly if it bit you, you would be like, ow, and then
Right.
put it away. So I even went down the road of, and then like having owned a snake, now I'm like, yeah, I don't really have a desire to own any more snakes. I mean, they're
You're
then it's
ready
just
to
like
move on
something.
to mountain lions.
No, I think I'm at the point where I'm ready to go pet free. I've got one dog now. That's plenty.
Right. Right.
But anyhow,
Yeah. So apparently the best way to keep your snakes is in Tupperware containers. I was interested to learn that there's seemed like all the snakes at the all the crazy venomous snakes at the show were in regular old Tupperware containers.
yeah,
So
totally.
it's like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, what could go wrong? Like, unless like a table got knocked over, and then everyone might die. But but other than
But
that,
wait, what if that table was at a daycare? And
oh,
that
yeah,
would
that's
be
even
even
worse.
worse.
Well, the worst thing that could happen would be you'd have to shoot that snake, which they do in this movie, by the way. The snake shooting was a little crazy too. That
Mhm.
actually like I felt really bad about that. I was like, oh, I've never known that I've really felt that bad about a snake, but like they're like, yeah, there's nobody that can take the snake. And then they just pop out a shotgun.
Yeah. What are you
Like,
gonna do?
well, I guess because you can pop out a shotgun and shoot a snake. Yes,
Indeed.
that was funny. That was the one where they did bias the movie. Because how did you feel about the bias of this movie? Because like I got the feeling like it was certainly like I think the filmmakers were really biased against the crazy animal, the exotic animal pet ownership, but they didn't really come on strong with it. I mean, they
Yeah, I
had a
felt
couple.
yeah, I felt like they definitely were, and I think what was good it was that they let the other like the Terry basically and everything have his say without like I don't think they did anything to like try to make Terry or his point of view look stupid.
No,
I think they're pretty fair in the way that they portrayed it. Now, granted, they didn't have any like other experts come out and be like, here's why it's super
well,
important that
they had
people own
one.
lions. But
They had one guy that was like owned at the exotic pets in Vegas thing,
oh yeah, that's
and
right.
that guy was like, I'm a zoologist. I've worked, blah blah blah. He kind of threw out his credentials, which seemed like they were as impressive as credentials could get for owning animals, and and he was like, and like his point, which I get, was just like, hey, it's just people want to outlaw owning exotic pets because that's not for them. That's their point of view, and everyone kind of thinks their point of view is the right way to be, and that's kind of where laws come from. But he's like, and he was also like, oh yeah, but every time an exotic pet owner screws up, that's just one step closer, which of course is the case. I mean, like
Right.
if they never screwed up, no one would even bring up the issue. But when you got lions running down a freeway and you got people being eaten by snakes, it doesn't take many people being eaten by snakes before you're like, maybe we shouldn't have those snakes around,
Right. Maybe not. I like the point that one doctor made where it was a doctor who'd worked in Africa for like 20 years, and he was like, "Man, in Africa, they're definitely like more, they're scared of these animals and super respectful of them." And unlike in America where we're like, surely the super venomous snake can't hurt me. Yay, I'm an American.
Yeah. Why do we do that? What's wrong with us?
No.
Because I mean, again, that's just stupid. I mean, yeah, like why do we focus on and go towards this incredibly stupid ideas? Like, especially when there's such similar alternatives that are not as stupid.
Right.
Like, oh my god, like I can own 6,000 different species of snakes that are non-venomous and not big enough to kill me. But I'm gonna go with the other one.
Right.
Yeah. And what's our rationale there?
Yeah, the one scene where I was like kind of saw like what Terry was getting out of it a little bit was that scene where he's like walking around with the baby cub lion and like everyone was like, oh, let me get my picture taken with that lion and oh, that's so cute. And everyone was basically amazed that he had this little lion out and he was getting a lot of attention because of it and stuff. So I was like, oh, I guess that's what he gets out of it until it grows too big for him to carry around.
Right. And then it's just problem central.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me see if I had anything else. That's pretty much all I had to talk about, I think. Other than that, I thought the one shot was really good. I thought where um, they had that shot where the Tim guy's walking up to the trailer and the lion just like looks out of the trailer. For some reason, the way that shot was framed really gave me a feeling of, holy shit, there's a fucking lion in that trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, and the lions, like, definitely, like, the first time he's like, they're Terry's lions or whatever, and he walks up to the cage, and like every time he seemed to walk up to a cage, they would like, kind of playfully jump over. But yeah, the first time that Tim dude walked up, it was like you heard the lion growl and like try and stick its paw through the cage, and I would assume it was fairly ready to kill him at the point.
Right.
So yeah, it's
two other things I did have. I just remembered one. I don't know what's up Netflix. Or I don't know if it's Netflix or who, but like for closed captioning, they have to be doing some like automated program to close caption because I watched this kind of late at night and I was trying to keep the volume down so everyone else was sleeping and everything like that. So I had the closed captioning on, and whenever it said the phrase "cats are," which you'd be surprised how many times they said "cats are" in the documentary, it was a lot. It was closed captioned as "cancer." So I was like, what is going? What like? It took me a little while to even figure out what was going on because I was like,
right.
Why are they talking so much about cancer in the movie? And then I finally realized that whatever this like cats are. So it had to be like some automated. I can't imagine that like a human person made that mistake.
Right. Yeah. Well, now I wish there was a documentary about closed captioning and how.
Right. The other thing was something I really watch out for in movies, and one of my pet peeves kind of is music that's manipulative, and it's a little bit of a fine line because, like, obviously all music in movies is like to enhance the feelings and stuff like that. But like my line that I try to draw is I try to think like, if this music was not here, would I still like have the same, or would the scene still have the same feeling? And I felt like this movie crossed the line a little bit to sometimes when they're just like showing shots of the lion, they're playing like super sad music.
Yeah,
there's a little bit.
I wrote that down. There are 2 points I thought that it really crossed the line because at least like, sometimes with the line it was kind of sad or whatever. But the 2 times where I was like, all right, you're crossing the line is both times they went to the auction thing for the crazy animals and then like the other animal thing. If you listen then the music's like all like death metal thrashy kind of like it's like, oh, this is terrible, this is the worst place ever, like I was like, oh well, just let me make up my mind. Don't
right
don't like try and push me there like by overtoning emotions into the scene, but whatever. So yeah, I think it did do that too. Oh, and the other thing I want to mention is those all the lion cubs at the end are like really close to my house, like an hour away or whatever.
Nice.
I was like, oh, I should go check them out.
You should go visit them and definitely ask if you can adopt one, or if they have any cubs of their own. Maybe now you can.
Yeah, I wouldn't want a big one, but the little ones seem cute. Yeah. So that'd
be
perfect. Perfect. I'll carry it around. People will say, "Oh, what a cute lion you have."
Yep. All right. Any other points you wanted to make on this bad boy?
Nah, I think we covered it pretty good.
All right. What star rating out of 5 stars will you give this?
I'll give it a 2.5.
All right. I'm going to go, I guess, 3.5.
Okay.
3.5. We'll go 3.5.
Fair
That was
enough.
pretty good. Worth watching. So that is Elephant in the Room. If you would like to watch it, I hope you got $3. Because that's the only way you're watching it, unless you own it on DVD or something, or you can find like a Blockbuster that still exists or something
Well,
like
if you find that, you gotta email us because I want to know where that Blockbuster is.
that would be pretty sweet.
That would be sweet. I'd dust off my VHS player and rock out some Blockbuster.
All right. So are you out next week, or are you here next week?
I'm here next week. I'm
All
out
right.
the week after that. So yeah.
Cool. So do you have proposal documentaries for us?
I do. Mostly because we were a little late getting started this evening. Gave me just enough time to get them. So
cool.
Here we go. Your choices are Ayn Rand and the Prophecy of Atlas Shrugged, which I assume just kind of follows, obviously the whole, All right. Next is Cave of Forgotten Dreams. And that is let's see. This documentary offers an unprecedented look at Francis Chauvet Cave, which contains the oldest human painted images on Earth.
Right on.
Or USA versus James J. Burglar, I think it is. It took decades to bring down a violent mobster to justice. With the FBI in the corner, he was above the law.
Nice.
They all got basically high ratings on Netflix, so
right.
I didn't exactly think out my categories this evening. So sorry.
No worries. So Cave of Forgotten Dreams, I believe, is Werner Herzog.
Ooh,
so that's always a good time.
Yeah.
In the Whitey one, I'm interested in too. I believe I've proposed that one before. So what was the other one? I already forgot what the other one was.
The other one was Ayn Rand and the Prophecy of because she's kind of big again. Well, I mean, not really her, but her philosophies and
right.
And it influences like such a weird sphere. So it's something I kind of like to take time to like dig through and think about. But
right,
We've
got Ayn Rand, the Werner Herzog, or crime. Let's do the Whitey. I don't think we've really done like a crime drama.
Yeah, we really haven't. Into the Abyss was kind of close, but that was still more of a case on the death penalty.
Right.
All right, cool. I'm in.
Right, cool. We will do Whitey. It's just called Whitey, right? Is that it?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, Whitey, and then I think it's U.S. versus James J. Burglar.
Sweet.
I think if I wrote it down right.
Cool. All right, so join us next week to discuss Whitey. You can catch it on Netflix. If you have any feedback for us, you can feedback at documentaryreviewpodcast.com. I will talk to you next time. This is PT. Keep it real.
I'm Jonathan. We'll see you next week.